chapter 18 today. Today it's Sunday afternoon and I'm just kind of puttering around the shop. I think I'm gonna start calling these Sunday afternoon things some catchy name, like maybe Fun Day Sunday or something like that, I don't know. But I really enjoy working in the shop, and on Sundays I come out here and I play with things that I want to play with. And today it's going to be my really nice Laguna lathe. A couple of things before we get into today's chapter. Getting closer to 25 videos and 100 subscribers. So when I get to those milestones, well, the 25 videos, that's more or less just a personal one. 100 subscribers, that's a pretty good one for me. I think right now we're about 82 or 83. That, I was going to come up with a way to give that little bowl I turned a couple Sundays ago to somebody who was my 100 subscriber, but I haven't been able to figure that out yet, how to do that. So I think I've come up with another way of doing it, but I'm not going to share that quite yet. I need to think it through a bit, but I think that's what's going to happen. The other thing that I should point out is the last video I shot was the longest video to date that I've done, and it just really emphasized in my mind how time flies when I get in front of my camera. So hopefully this one won't be as long. This one I might be able to speed up in places and kind of get through the boring stuff. But I think I learned with that video I need to get into my content a little quicker than I did on that one. But I had things to say. I needed to say them. So anyway, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at entry-level turning projects. The reason I'm doing this today is because, actually two reasons. First of all, the last 2 months I've had, well, one continuous group of classes, a small group that comes in Tuesday afternoons, and these would be about grade 8, grade 9 students. And then through the Hub City Turners Club, we've now done 3 introductory classes. So it kind of got me thinking about those things. The other reason is, it was interesting to listen to the adults at our Hub City Turner classes, because a lot of them talked about being introduced to turning in grade 8 in shop. And man, that made me feel good, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of grade 8 students that I've shown how to turn. So hopefully someday that's going to pay off for them, where they're going to come back to this as a wonderful hobby, and who knows, maybe a way to make some income or whatever. So that made me feel really good. So maybe one more thing before we get into it. I'm wearing this really nice turning smock, and it was one of the adults at the, I think the first class we did for the Hub City Turners, came with one of these, and apparently it's a hairstylist's apron or shirt that he ordered on Amazon. So he told me where it was, and I went there and I ordered one, and it is a really, really nice turning smock. The fabric is quite light. I'm not sure how long it'll last, but it was like, I think, 23 bucks. So that's a good deal if you're looking for a turning smock. Is one thing you might want to check out. But anyway, let's get on to today's topic. Today, I said already, we're going to look at entry-level turning projects. And I just lined up a few that I've done here. This is going to become today's project. And basically, when you're teaching turning, especially between centers, which is using both ends of the lathe, you want to emphasize projects that have beads and coves. So these are beads. I would say this is one long cove. It's really not quite, but we're going to call it that for today. So beads and coves, that's what's important. The other thing that's really important when you're teaching turning to new people is you want a progression. So what I did with students is the very first thing they turned, I'd give them a block very similar to this because we got birch like this really cheap. So, often the first block wouldn't become a project, it was just for practice. But I thought of a way you could incorporate that practice block and this project into the same piece of wood. And that's what we're going to do today. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the practice part, but just to show you what could be done. So you could turn this, you could have it between centers, you could rough it out, which is important. And then you could practice beads and coves, and then when you got down to a certain diameter, then you could start your project. So this kind of combines two projects, or two turning experiences, maybe is a better way of saying it, into one piece. So you can save a little bit of wood. So this I figured was kind of a cove. This is a little rocket we used to do, and we put fins on it. So that's a bead, just a nice bead. I really like the ice cream cone because this is a little harder to turn. The students usually, they not struggled, but this was more of a challenge for them because you've got different size beads, and then you've got a cylinder part here with two little beads on it and then a taper. So that was always a challenge. But once they got that done, we did nutcrackers, Christmas ornaments, keychains. This happens to be bullet bill. Needs to be painted for it to make sense. So anyway, those are some of the projects I did. Trent likes to do a mallet with his students, with the adult students that come here. We always did this as the first project as well. So I'm just going to clean up the lathe a little bit here. And yeah, that's why my shop is a mess. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly just put this in the lathe between centers. One of the things that I like about this project to start with, and if you're teaching turning at any level, you could make this a lot more content oriented than than we do in our classes, because you could turn this with a spindle roughing gouge, mostly. You can mostly turn it with a roughing gouge. You could mostly turn it with a skew. You're going to need a parting tool yet too, but those three tools, and if you can master those three tools, that's great. So that you're on your way if you can do that. So that's why we like doing this one, and it looks really nice. And it's also important especially for students, that they are rewarded with something to take home really quickly, because that will help keep them engaged. So get it done, mark it quick, send it home. Okay, so we're going to put a piece between centers here. There we go. Okay, I drilled the hole for these little cheap votive candles. These are like the real flame type. You can get ones that have no flame and look like they're lit. I haven't played with those yet. We send fire home to people's houses, so hopefully nothing happens with that. What I did, okay, this block I repaired with super glue. It was cracked up on the end. I don't know if you can see that, but I found center just by connecting the corners. And then we're using safe centers here. And a safe center is something with no teeth on it. Now these aren't really like, is it One Way or Nova that actually makes a very nice safe drive. It's a little more sophisticated than this. They used to sell these at Busy Bee. They were $10 each. That's why I have them, because they're cheap. But anyway, what I like to do is take that out, especially with students, and just pound this in a little bit. What it does is it makes that impression in there, and it makes it a little easier to tighten it up between centers. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is just put this between centers. So I'm going to put it like this, line up that center mark. Now I put the cone on here. The centers that we have on my student lathes and the school that I taught, we did not have these good like one-way style centers. This is a one-way live center. And this came with the lathe, but it seems to be a very good center as well. These are a little finer in here, and the center of the Forstner bit makes a little bit more of a V-shaped notch. So that gets a little bit bigger. So with the cone on, we'll keep our center, and that's why I wanted to use that. So we're going to slide this up. What I like to do, I don't know if it's a thing or not, I don't like to turn with a lot of the quill sticking out of the tailstock. Especially on my student lathes, I just don't think it's as stable. Now I've tightened that up really nicely. So when you're setting up for between centers turning, always make sure that you give things a spin by hand. Okay, that seems really good. I'm happy with that. I think the tool rest will be okay, right height. And I'm just going to put some power on. Okay, speed. Lathe speed is another important thing. I have an RPM gauge on this lathe. Personally, I like it. Sometimes people get into the surface feet per minute, which is very important when you're turning. But between centers like this, I think having a lathe speed can help you out as a beginner. If you know, okay, this is about how fast I should be going. Now, I always started, I'm very conservative with speed. I notice when Trent comes in here, first thing he does is crank up the speed. And I get that. I agree with him 100%. The more speed, usually more speed equals a lighter, like less resistance on the tool, better cut. But I would qualify that with one thing. I think speed is good if you have control. If you have no control, in my opinion, bad things just happen faster. So I'm very conservative with speed. With a student group, we would probably start between centers at about 1200 RPM. The third step on the pulley. Okay, so that's where we're going to start. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you guys in closer, and we're just going to start turning. Okay? Okay, well, we're mounted between centers, and you can't see me at all, but I'm going to take the spindle roughing gouge, this one here, and I'm going to make this round. I'm going to try to turn fairly quickly because this video is going to get longer than I want it to. Okay, and I have safety glasses on so that you should always wear them when you turn as well. Okay, here we go. So I need to play with my new editing equipment a little bit and try to voice over some of these long turning segments. Okay, I'm not quite round yet. It's starting to feel pretty good though. So I am just going to keep rolling right along here, and away we go. At this point, I would have circulated around the shop and let them rough this out on their own. Okay, it's round. Now, if I wasn't doing this demo on camera, now this would have taken students quite a while to do. So now I would leave them, I'd maybe come back and demonstrate a bead and a cove, and I can maybe do that quickly here. I'm going to use a spindle roughing gouge. I like this tool. Remember when you're turning to always move the tool rest to a proper position as well. What I always told students is with the lathe not running, if they could get their finger between the rest and the wood, they should move it up a bit, okay? So I'm just gonna do just a couple beads here. I had a method at school for teaching beads that I kind of liked. Basically, it was rub the bevel. The bevel is this part back here. Rub the bevel, lift the handle till the tip engages, and then just roll over. Just roll your wrist. Start at the center, get it cutting again, and roll the other way. So that when you get to the bottom, when you get to this part here, the gouge should be perfectly sideways, okay? I'm not gonna spend too much. I'm just gonna do one more feature here. We're gonna do a cove. Okay, I'm gonna rub and cut, and I'm gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna rub and cut, and that's my cove. Notice I'm always going from the large diameter to the small diameter. Okay, I'm going to set that gouge aside, and one of the tools that causes a lot of anxiety with turners is the skew. So I'm going to finish this to final diameter on the top here with the skew. All right, and away we go. Whoops. The skew is not as intimidating a tool as many would like you to believe. The key to using the skew successfully is just to practice, practice, practice. Put a piece of wood between centers in the lathe and practice. Okay, the skew leaves a really, really nice smooth finish. I had a little trouble getting started. It was a little chattery because I just wasn't quite in the groove. I just sharpened this thing, and I think the angles changed from the last time I used it. So it just took me a couple passes to get used to it. You'll also notice that I'm flipping over this way. I'm turning both right-handed and left-handed. It's a very, very good skill to have. And rather than me turning around, mind you can't see that way, I have a camera set, but it's quite important to do that. I think it is anyway. So what we're gonna do next, I'm still a little bigger than I wanna be, but what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do a few things that I would have had students do as soon as their project was round. So in other words, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna define the turning area, okay? And by that, what I mean, we're gonna part off the very top and the very bottom. Like not completely off, but like the bottom of the candlestick is gonna be about here, and the top is gonna be about there. But I'm gonna cut part way down so that we can make our shape and have a better chance of getting the scale right and everything when we know we don't have to occupy this piece of wood. So that's what I'm gonna do next. Okay, that's the base. I'm gonna make one more little cut. I want this last cut, the parting tool, to go in a bit of an angle so that we're making a bit of a a concave so that the candlestick sits on the outside edges, okay, so it doesn't rock. And this I have a hole drilled already, so I'm just going to okay, and I always leave a little extra because we're going to make some finishing cuts there yet. Now, I think this candle holder looks better with, I call this the waist, I don't know what it is, but with that fairly high on the blank. So we're just going to do that. And probably the nicest way to turn this is to take a caliper. There it is, we'll use this one. And you can size this. Am I going the right way here? Yes, I am. You can size this with a caliper. Now, personally, I wouldn't go down to that measurement right away. I would leave a bit more. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the parting tool and I'm going to cut down to that level. Now you'll notice I'm not doing this with the lathe running. These tips are not ground off on this. They're sharp and I just don't want to have a catch. So I do the slow way. And that'll do. Now that isn't perfect, but it leaves me some room to do some fine tuning at the end. And that's one thing also that you want to stress to students if you're teaching this, is to keep as much mass as you can as long as you can. That is important. Okay. I'm going to start with spindle gouge. This is a 1/2-inch spindle gouge, a P&N 1/2-inch spindle gouge. And I'm just going to, so you rub, cut, and I'm going a little further back each time. To establish my taper. So then I'm going to come to this side and do the same thing. So, spindle gouge works great for this project. Roughing gouge, spindle roughing gouge. Okay, so I used the spindle gouge first and the spindle roughing gouge. I could turn the whole project, except for the parting at the ends and in the middle, with either one of these tools. And I'm probably going to switch back and forth, but I'm going to show you that you can also use a skew for this. And the skew, once you get used to this tool, it's wonderful to work with. Okay, well, I really like this shape for a skew project because the curve is so nice and gentle, and you can just ride that bevel down to the waist of the project. So that's really, really cool. The other thing that you'll notice here is that I'm turning left-handed quite a bit. I learned to do this because I needed to turn left-handed often when working with students. There just wasn't a room around the lathe for me to get in right-handed. But I like it. It's such a comfortable working stance in front of the lathe as opposed to contorting myself to be able to make these turns or this turning right-handed. Okay, that's getting to be pretty close. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish off the ends. And then I'm going to do a little bit of sanding. I could get that little washboard out of there. I think maybe we'll do that with the skew yet. But we're going to take the spindle gouge and we're going to demonstrate two types of cuts. One is a shear scraping cut where I'm going to be cutting on the lower lip and just kind of scraping that off. I'm hoping you can see that. And the other one, maybe I should do both of them on this end just in case. Okay, let's get back to the skew for a second and I think I can live with that. It's a nice little edge there. Okay, well, it's going to be doing it left-handed, so it's a little bit more of a challenge for me, but I think you'll be able to see it better at this end. That shear scraping cut that I'm doing is really down low like that. And then the cut I prefer, which is a lot more difficult, and your students are going to have trouble with this, especially if they're going to start on this face here, is to come in and make that push cut. I'm going to move the tool rest too. To make that push cut, that is a lot more difficult. In fact, sometimes what I do is I'll start the push cut here, and that makes it a little easier. So, okay, here we go. Okay, one thing you want to make sure of is that when you put the tool on there, maybe the parting tool will give you a better view. I don't know if you can see that. I'm kind of close to there, but I'm going to make a quick cut with the parting tool. Now, you could cut this off with a parting tool and just sand it. That would work just fine. But I think, actually, that looks really good. And I've demonstrated both cuts to you already, so I think we're going to call that kind of done. So what I'm going to do is we're going to turn the camera off because I've got to go find my sandpaper. And we're going to come back, we're going to give it a quick sand, and we're going to part it off. Well, hello everybody. I don't know if you can tell this or not, but it is Monday morning. I had lots of problems yesterday with the video that I shot and trying to edit it. So I'm just going to try to shoot the tail end of that video today and load it, edit it, and hopefully get it out of here in the next few hours. This had never happened to me before with video. It happened a few years ago with still pictures. I think what happens is I'm thinking there must have been an upgrade that got downloaded to my phone, and all of a sudden I didn't realize it, but all the video I was shooting was being shot in HEIC format. Anyway, the high quality video that apparently no software can read. So Clipchamp was having a dickens of a time with that. I managed to get the longest video to get onto Clipchamp, and then I lost it 2 or 3 times on there. It was just terrible. And the last 2 little clips I couldn't get to load at all. So I'm going to reshoot those last 2 little clips as one, just to kind of catch you up. They were really not terribly important to the overall picture anyway. So we're going to do that quickly, and then hopefully I can save this part and get it into Clipchamp, edit it, and get this done today. And I do have my camera set now, so it does not shoot that nasty format anymore. But it would be nice if, instead of burying that all in the fine print with an upgrade, if they would just tell you up front, because when I found out before, when I was doing still pictures, I was writing articles for the Saskatchewan Woodworkers Guild, and all of a sudden I couldn't get pictures into my Word documents anymore. So it was terribly frustrating. But anyway, that's water under the bridge, so to speak. So let's get back to the video and the turning project that I did. And hopefully we've learned that we don't do that anymore. Okay, so this is our candle holder that I turned yesterday. When I left off, what I was going to do is come back and show you the sanding part. Well, normally when I would sand a piece that I care about between centers, especially you got long grain here, what I would do is I would turn the lathe on, I would hold the paper down here, I would sand it, getting it smooth this way. But that's kind of going across the grain. So with each grit I would finish, lathe off, and just keep sanding it like this till you get all the scratches going the length of the grain. And I don't, because of my influence at school, we were always trying to save money, so we only used 100 and 180 grit paper. Now, according to many finishing experts, 180 grit paper is really quite good. 220 and 310 will make it feel better, but there's debate among the sanding crowd, so whatever you do, just do. I think it depends on if you want to like sell the piece or give it away, or if you just want it to hang around your shop as a practice piece. So I sanded this with 100 and 180, and then I parted it off the lathe. And often you would have people part things so that they can just take it out of the lathe and it's completely finished on the bottom. Again, because of the influence I had working with students, I didn't feel comfortable having students do that. So we leave a little, probably about a 1/4 inch, usually at each end, and then take it out of the lathe, take a little saw, cut it off. And I have a little Dremel with a 1/2 inch sanding drum set up that we sand the bottom. And then we would put finish on, burn your name in the bottom and all those good things. So that takes care of the project, and of course I stock these little votives here, and that's a really nice looking little project. So I think these are important. If you're a student and you're turning something like this, that's an amazing project to take home and give to mom or dad or sister or whatever, brother. It's a really cool little project. And if you're learning to turn, you're an adult, this going into the spouse would make their day as well. So it's a cute little project, doesn't take long to do, and something that you can be proud of. And I think one of the things when you're learning to turn is learning that, hey, when there's something well done, that you should smile and be proud of it, okay? Because that's what really this is. We turn, most of us turn for fun. All right, so anyway, that's the end of the content part of the video. Sorry about the end, I just couldn't make things work. The one thing that you could add to this project, like it doesn't necessarily have to be a raw beginner project. Like you could make this, if you were turning a more advanced class, you could make this into the first skew project. You could make this into the first roughing gouge shaping project, like not just roughing, but using the roughing gouge as a tool. And of course you can use the spindle gouge. And why I called this a spindle roughing gouge in the video yesterday, I have no idea. But anyway, that's another great tool. So it's a very flexible project. You can use a variety of tools to do it. You can learn what you'd like to learn with a simple project. And the other nice thing about it, there's not a lot of wood in this project. So anyway, so on that note, yeah, this was supposed to go up yesterday, but this is video 18. And I'm shooting for 25 videos in the next little while here, so hopefully that's happening. It may not seem like it to you, but I am learning things every day about every time I post a video about shooting video and editing video. So this is necessary for me to shoot things and get content going. So that's what I'm doing. So the other milestone that's coming up is 100 subscribers. I'm a little closer than I thought I was. And I was looking for ways to determine who my 100 subscriber was, and I can't seem to figure that out. So I don't think anybody's really interested in that, so, but I am. So I think I figured out a way that I can give that little bowl away that I made. So that'll be around the 100 subscriber giveaway. And I'll, as I get to that point, I'll tell you how we're going to deal with that. So, and I suspect that this will become some other type of giveaway as well. I'll put finish on it, and we'll give it to one of the viewers. So anyway, with that, yeah, please like and subscribe. It's a lot of fun doing this. It's a lot of work, and that's why my bathroom vanity is where it is. But like and subscribe, comment if you want to, and yeah, we'll see you towards the end of the week again. So have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you later.